Matt Smith here recording for the Sports Talk Media Network. Our game coverage at Sports Talk presented by the South Carolina Beef Council. South Carolina, we'll start with what we know about the Gamecocks tonight. Robbie Ashford handled himself ably in Lenora Sellers' absence. Lenora Sellers could not go today after suffering the ankle injury against LSU last week. He was in a walking boot earlier tonight, but Ashford played well. 243 yards through the air, 133 on the ground, helped guide the Gamecocks to 549 total yards in a 50-7 victory over Akron. Here's what we don't know, which is the status of Lenore Sellers moving forward. The Gamecocks heading into a bye week. Also, Rocket Sanders left in the first quarter on the Gamecocks' second offensive drive, and he had a boot to match Lenore Sellers. So by the end of tonight here in Columbia, both the Gamecocks starting quarterback Lenore Sellers and starting running back Raheem Rocket Sanders were both in walking boots. The severity of those injuries is not yet known, but they will have to put out a specific injury report ahead of their game against Ole Miss in 2 weeks. We'll certainly give you any updates we get from Shane Beamer in his post-game press conference. Just stay tuned to at Sports Talk SC, and we'll try to get those into the game story for you as well at sportstalksc.com. Now, South Carolina's defense tonight obviously played well, giving up just 7 points to Akron and less than 200 yards of offense, just 154 yards of offense tonight for the Zips, 7 points. Kyle Kennard, still unblockable. We thought he might be tonight against Akron. He was unblockable against Kentucky, unblockable against LSU, and certainly the Zips had nothing for Kyle Kennard on the offensive line. He had another good night. And Robbie Ashford, throwing the football, was able to hit several receivers. 8 different receivers caught a pass in the first half on his 11 completions. And by the end of the night, everybody was getting involved as South Carolina was just routing Akron. Davis Bevel got to play as well. But honestly, tonight was just about getting a feel-good win for South Carolina after scuffling against Old Dominion in the opener. It felt good for the Gamecocks to go out and just throttle an opponent, which they did. Now they need to get healthy. We know what they've got. Nick Harbor caught a couple of passes and actually had one called back due to holding. He looked more comfortable in the offense and looked like he was more of a priority. He still doesn't have a lot of early acceleration. It takes a few steps for Nick Harbor to get going, but once he does, he's difficult to cover in the open field. Mazio Bennett made a couple of plays on deep passes. Lavardane, Gage Lavardane as well, made a couple of nice grabs on deep passes. Robbie Ashford, I'll say this. I'm certainly no quarterback coach, but he was inconsistent. His numbers turned out to be very good tonight, but I wouldn't say he is a polished passer. So if South Carolina has to move forward with Robbie Ashford in any SEC ball games, they're certainly going to have to rely on the fact that he's a dual threat and can move the chains with his legs as well as his arm. We did see a lot of Oscar Attaway the third in the running game, and he looked very comfortable. South Carolina was not getting him involved early in the season, but they had to tonight with in the absence of Rocket Sanders after that second drive. And Juju McDowell had a couple of moments, had a touchdown catch, and did some good things offensively as well. So a lot of good to take from tonight if you're a South Carolina fan, if you're a South Carolina team. Some of the depth tonight got to get out there in game action. And now it's about that stretch that we've talked about all season since we saw the schedule come out. Everybody that was covering or observing this South Carolina football team, watch out. There's that stretch with Ole Miss, Alabama, and Oklahoma in succession. And that is what the South Carolina Gamecocks will face when they return to action in 2 weeks against the Ole Miss Rebels, who are looking right now like a college football playoff contender. So that's it for now from on this report from Williams-Brice Stadium. But absolutely stay tuned to at Sports Talk SC at sportstalksc.com because we're going to give you updates as best we can and as soon as we can on Rocket Sanders. And then as we move forward, closer to Ole Miss game day, we'll certainly be tracking the health of Lenore Sellers the more we learn. And of course, we'll discuss it with you on Sports Talk, 6 to 8 weeknights across the state. You can go to sportstalksc.com, find your local affiliate, and you can be a part of the show and make your thoughts known on Sports Talk throughout the week with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. I'll be on the show on Monday night recapping what we saw here in Columbia. So that's it. Again, the final, South Carolina 50, Akron 7. It was all Gamecocks from start to finish. They've got a real player in Kyle Kennard, and it looks like they've got a quarterback that can handle the offense if Lenora Sellers can't go in 2 weeks against Ole Miss. Our coverage is presented by the South Carolina Beef Council.